things. Let's obviously turn our minds back to Sunday, 3-0 down at halftime, which I thought at halftime was nowhere near a 3-0. You know, the way the game went, 71% possession throughout the first half, and we find ourselves 3-0 down with 3 sloppy goals to concede. And it wasn't just the goals we conceded. I don't like complaining about referee decisions because, it goes for you, it goes against you over the course of the season. But so many decisions in the space of that 90 minutes went against us, and I just couldn't believe it. You're looking at the corner that Kai Havertz scored. I thought that was a push on Van de Ven. You're looking at the goal that they scored with Saka. I thought it was a penalty down the other end. They didn't even want to give the penalty that Declan Rice kicked lumps out of Ben Davies for. I mean, Michael Oliver, did he have an Arsenal shirt on underneath his refereeing jersey? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing throughout the course of that game. And it wasn't just those decisions. There were more in there as well. But Amir, do you feel that Spurs deserved more in that game?
No, we didn't deserve more. And the reason we didn't deserve more, right, it comes down to that first half. You cannot go into a derby and go 3-0 down in the first half and expect anything from any game. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable. The level of defending, right, and it's been a consistent, since that nice run of games at the start of the season, our defending has been absolutely shocking. And this whole business about set pieces, and we've seen Ange say it's not a problem. Well, mate, it really is a problem. I mean, let's be real about it. The whole Vicario thing, the whole set piece thing, every corner for them, it's like basically, it's half a penalty, basically. Every time a team gets a corner against us. And for me, you can't do that in a game and then expect anything from it. I think we did well to fight back and nick a couple of goals back and get ourselves back in the mix, but you can't just shoot yourself in the foot like that and expect something from a game. And unfortunately, I'm sure we'll get into it here with the lads. For me, I need to see some form of adaptability within what Ange is doing, because Arsenal, right? Let's be real. Eddie Howe done us tactically last week, and now Arteta's gone and done us again completely tactically, and he's outdone Ange. He knew exactly how we were going to play, and they got us on the set pieces. Really disappointed with that. But we did show fight, right? To put like a little caveat on all the negativity and the hurt that we're going through. We did show some fight. We did get back in there, and like you said, Ben, right, the refereeing, we do have to look at these things, because it's been a consistent, not just for Tottenham Hotspur, but you look at other teams like Forest and many others that just decisions that are completely nonsensical. And if Martin Oliver can't see someone getting kicked, near enough in the gonads, there, I mean, what's he doing on the pitch? Seriously. Maybe we should be getting referees from Europe or something. Maybe that's an option. Go get people that don't have any loyalties in England or something. I don't know what the solution is, but the refereeing's been shocking all season, and not just for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go as far to say another decision that Mickey Van de Ven goal probably should have stood as well. I mean, not only... first of all, I can't even see if it's offside or not. And second of all, if an Arsenal player hits it into another Arsenal player and then plays Mickey Van de Ven through on goal, like, how is that offside? Like, it makes no sense to me. But Lee, do you agree? It makes no sense.
Commentary again, they were robbed as well. It goes on and on.
I disagree with anything Amir that you're saying, buddy, to be honest. I mean, I think that did I want something out of the game? Of course we did. And actually, if that game goes on another 10 minutes, we probably get something out of it, which is bizarre. We probably end up equalising, and who knows what happens after that. But you can't give a team of Arsenal's quality. I know we don't want to say this about Arsenal, but they are quality. They're brilliant. And, you can't give Arsenal a 3-0 head start, which is basically what we did. And it's happened a few times. I think the only thing I would probably disagree, Amir, with you on, buddy, is the adaptability piece. I know Rick's going to have your back here 100%, because that's what we keep fleeting on about adaptability. I just think there's an element of Ange who is trying to embed what he has to do this season. And actually, if you take the whole season as a whole, would we have been happy and been buoyant with finishing top 5? All of us would probably have said yes. And I said this in the last one on Spurs WhatsApp group the other day. First 10 games were now, and the last 10 games were at the first start of the season. So same points, same results. We'd all be on a high, wouldn't we? Because we'd be thinking, we've just got to draw against Arsenal with we're on this unbeaten run and we're amazing. So momentum has a huge part to play in that. And I don't want to say this word, but it is a process in anything you do. When you're losing weight, for an example, you start losing weight, or you're on a regime. You drop weight really quickly, and then you start to plateau, and you've got to change something different. And I think it's the same with this process. We started this process, honeymoon period, whatever you want to call it. We're all up it, happy days, as it were. I was going mad. Could we? Should we? Are we? And actually, we've now gone through that kind of plateau effect where, we're not getting them results. So I think they will come. There is some huge positives out of that game. Like Ben, you mentioned 71% possession against champions elect. Hopefully there won't be. Is great. But then there'll be loads of people screaming at me now going, who cares about possession when we lost 3-0? When we was 3-0 down after 38 minutes. So there has to be a balance there. I think the adaptability will come once he knows that we've got better players in the squad to play what he wants. And I think if you look at, and a lot of people don't want to do this, but if you look at Klopp's journey, Arteta's journey, if you look at Pep's journey, they're all the same. Poch's journey, even now. We saw it 5.5 years ago with Spurs. When he first came in, 7 odd years ago, whatever it was, 2014, 10 years ago now, blimey. When he first came in 2014, and now you're seeing it at Chelsea again. You have to give some of them time. And the only thing that I'm worried about is that we're giving up on him already, and we cannot change another manager, in my opinion, just my humble opinion. We cannot keep that revolving door going.
That's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
I know you're not saying that, but that's just that's what I worry.
Yeah. If I can just come here, guys, because I think, look, Lee's listed a number of managers there that ultimately you judge them on their first season and what they've done. The only thing I would say is that in all of their managers' first season, and under Maurizio, when he was at the club, what I definitely saw was, even in this early period under a manager, there was a real adaptability about them where they would change their game slightly based on the opponent. My concern with Spurs is that from what I'm seeing, and I think it's fair to say that those first 10 games were incredible. We were all unbelievably excited about what we saw. And I think it's easy to look back in hindsight now, but I do honestly believe those first opening 10 games, there was an element where people were still working Spurs out, what they were, how they were playing. It was a new brand of football that many didn't expect Spurs to maybe stick with and play with in those first 10. And I think what you've seen since those 10 games, you've seen 20 since then of real difficult games for Spurs to navigate, bar Newcastle at home, which they won 4-1, and bar Aston Villa away, which they won 4-0. And all those other games, to some degree, have been really tight affairs. We've had 2-1s, 3-1s, as we've seen. There's been late wins in there, which, don't get me wrong, is great from a characteristic perspective. But all of those games have had certain concerning elements in them where, when you look after the game, there are things that you come away with and say, look, I know we're season 1, but we've really got to change some of these things. Spurs have conceded 16 goals from set pieces. We had 15 days before the Arsenal game to be on that training ground, working out those problems to ensure we went into Arsenal with the best possible mindset, which we knew what their strengths would be, and to counter against. You're playing against an Arsenal side with a dedicated set-piece coach, alongside the fact of an Arsenal team that have got the most goals from set pieces. So you already know what their strengths are. And Spurs in the opening 38 minutes concede 2 goals from a set piece. Now, I'm not saying I'm giving up on Ange. If there's any manager that I would want to work at Tottenham, it's Ange Postecoglou. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he thinks. I like his vision. I like the fact of the way he carries himself as a man. But as a fan, I have to judge him purely on what I'm seeing on the pitch. And for me, there needs to be more flexibility around the way we play. Now, you can argue he hasn't got the players for that. Look, it's a process. I'm happy to wait until the summer. But my concern is that, the same as what Amir said in his opening line, I need to see something between now and the end of the season that's going to give me real confidence going into the summer that ultimately there is some little bit of tactical deviation from what we're seeing. Because the concerning thing is that we're doing the same thing week after week after week, and we're not learning. Look at the amount of goals Spurs have given away this season. We've conceded 52 goals this season. With a defence of Porro that's improved. Van der Ven, that arguably one of the best defenders in the league. For me, Romero, who's been so underrated since Van der Ven has come to the club. Destiny Udogi's been one of the best breakthrough signings as a left back. So it's not all wrong. There's some great stuff Spurs have been doing this season. From an attacking perspective, we lost Harry Kane, the greatest goal scorer in the club's modern day history. But I do feel there needs to be some adjustments being made if this is going to work long term. And let me just re-emphasise again, I love Postecoglou as a man. I think he's a great talker. If anyone can get this right, I want him to get it right. But it's got to be an element to some degree of some tactical adjustments. There has to be.
Yeah, I think everything that everyone said is very valid, but I would say every manager goes on their own journey, right? And you look at Mikel Arteta, you look at Pochettino, maybe they did it in a bit of a similar way where they were a bit adaptive to the way they kind of, set up tactically and deploy their teams in certain games. But I think when you look at other managers like a Jurgen Klopp, like a Pep Guardiola, they took batterings in their first seasons. They didn't change their style for anyone, and it was later when they had a settled team and they were winning leagues, they were winning games. Go on.
Just to come back in on what you said there, Ben. You're right. They stuck to their philosophy. They stuck to their principles, but within their philosophy and principles, there was adjustments being made, and they were reacting when things were going wrong. And my concern is that I'm not really seeing that with Spurs.
I'm not sure there was, though, Rick.
I don't think there was in the first season.
I don't think there was with Arteta either. I mean, all of us have a lot of Arsenal fans as well that we've been being battered on. But we're looking at Arteta today where he does make adjustments, right? 100%. But in his first season, was he making adjustments? They finished 8th. Yeah, and again, I remember we battered Jurgen Klopp's side, Dejan Lovren, putting him on his backside, 4-1 at Wembley. They were going to Norwich, losing 3-1, at Norwich. And people were saying, what's going on?
Man City lost to Everton 4-0.
And people were saying, you can't do this, you can't play out from the back. People were saying to Jurgen Klopp, this high press is too high. No one can keep this going, And yet they stuck with it, and then they got it right years after, or next year or the year after. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I do think that he's a man to get it right. I am saying that. I do think he's a man to get it right.
I want him to be the man to get this right. I really want him to work.
I think the biggest problem, lads, viewers and listeners, I think the biggest problem is that we are so, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to say it. We are so desperate to be successful, and we are sick to the back teeth of being patient, waiting, trying something new. We are sick of it as fans, as Tottenham fans. We need instantly something to happen. But the reality is very different to what we need or what we want. The reality is it takes time, and we need to give them time. Pedro Porro was a wing-back before this season. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Destiny had never played in this league before. Vicario was a £17 million player from Italy, never played in this league before. And they are going to go, Matassar's just turned 14, 15 years old, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Missed him Sunday. Really missed him.
The reality is that we've gone through some real stop-start parts of the season, and it is a process. None of us like the word. None of us want a project. None of us want to wait any longer, but we have to. We are where we are. We can't be entitled for that fact. We won nothing for 20 odd years, 25 years, and that's the desperation. It is, we are sick to death of waiting, but we have to. And if we throw this geezer out in the next 6 months or halfway through next season, the process just starts again, team, and we're just back to exactly the same scenario over and over again, and that's why nothing changes.
So I wanna go on, Amir.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that we were just talking about this yesterday, literally in the group chat, and I just said anyone that is literally Anjao at this stage, I think that's pure madness.
Mental at the moment.
I think it's pure and utter madness. And for me, you hit the nail on the head with the word waiting, because I'm not even judging anything right now. I want to give him a summer window and at least a start in Europe to see how we get on in the Europa League. And then we can talk around November, December time next year. And we can see if these adaptations that Ricky, you're talking about and that I want to see as well, those tactically in-game decisions that are key, getting over the line. When you're 2-1 up at Goodison, instead of, conceding a goal last minute, hold on for those next 2 points and make a little, you know, tactical change in there that will help get you over the line. So I'm waiting till then to really judge Ange.
Can I say one thing, Ben, if you don't mind? The one thing I think that does, and I'm not speaking for all Spurs fans here because I can't speak for all Spurs fans, because all Spurs fans have their own opinion, and rightly so. I think the one thing that does irritate a majority of Spurs fans is that the manager has a chance to talk to, and he says it, I would like to talk to the fans through the press conference twice a week, or once a week, twice a week in terms of the post-match press conference. So in those moments when that manager talks, that is an opportunity for us to listen in terms of the debrief before the game and after the game. And I think the one infuriating thing is that, look, Ali, God bless him, massive friend of the last one on Spurs show, that Ali asked him the question around set pieces. And what I want to hear from my manager, regardless if he wants to tell the media or not, is that when you've conceded 16 goals from set pieces, and when you've considered that amount to a manager in Arteta that has got a coach dedicated to work on them, I want to hear my manager come out after the game and say, we know it's an issue and we're working on them. And not to bat it off in terms of, oh, it's one of many things. It's a key fundamental issue that Spurs are failing to deal with now, not just in the last couple of weeks, but I'd say going back to the FA Cup game against Man City, where we was exposed from that corner. And ever since then, I think actually, no, a couple of weeks before that, the Everton game, of course, where Vicario was dominated around his 6-yard box was a problem. Every team now, to some degree, is using that as a real get-out at Spurs. And the thing is, we actually reacted quite well, I think, at the Brentford game at home, where we had Maddison as the blocker that actually was controlling that element of Vicario being blocked. Why have we stopped doing that? Why have we no longer now thought that's gone away? Why have we not put someone there to try and help Vicario? Or dare I say, look, Vicario's been brilliant this season from a shot-stopping perspective, but one of the key things as a goalkeeper is, for me, they command that 6-yard box. So whether in the summer he's got to go and get back on the weights and try and build some physicality, something's got to change around that. Either we deploy someone long-term that is actually there to be a blocker for set pieces, or alternatively, Vicario's got to go in that gym and bulk up, because what we can't have is a situation going to next season where that is not addressed. Because I love Vicario. I don't want to be in a situation where we've got a goalkeeper that's a brilliant shot stopper but can't command the 6-yard box. A goalkeeper's got to do their job, and as part of that job as being a goalkeeper, that's commanding your 6-yard box. So something has to give as well on that point. But the point I'm making with Ange is that, look, as I've said, really want it to work. Love the guy, but I think the press conference, when you come out after the game and brush it off and say, you know, it's more than that, that's a key fundamental thing that we're struggling with game after game. And it's been a cold course of the season so far. So it has to be addressed, Ben. I had to get that off my chest.